to the NCEdCloud interface update coming in summer 2022. If we haven't met before, I am John Mairs. I'm your current NCEdCloud IAM Service Manager at NCDPI. Also joining me today are Benjamin Salazar and Gwen Smith from Identity Automation and Lee Cummings from MCNC, and they will be helping me out with the Q&A section today. So our objectives for today, of course, I'll let you preview the new NCEdCloud user interface. We'll talk through key differences for all users of NCEdCloud. I've got sort of a brief screenshot tour we'll go through just to hit highlights. We'll do a quick live demo of some of the LEA administrator functionality, and we'll take a peek at the new training site. It's not quite ready, but we're going to peek at it anyway. I'll share with you the update timeline, and then any Q&A we have left at the end, we'll tackle. So, first up, what does it look like? This, of course, is the original NCEdCloud interface that you all know and love. And here is the new NCEdCloud interface. So I'll kind of pause there for a moment and sort of let you see before I move on. But it is easier to see application icons, a little more accessible, just overall a little more modern. So some of these key changes, and I'm not going to read this whole slide to you because we're going to go through it in screenshots here right afterward. But just very briefly, the most basic things, your left navigation buttons are now in a drop-down at the top. The My Profile stuff, like changing your password, is now in a little user menu at the top right, kind of where your users might expect it to be. The tabs that used to be along the top are now down the left side. The action buttons that used to be at the top are now at the bottom. And there are a couple other changes that kind of follow along all of those. Some of the pop-ups display as a panel over on the right. And of course, that changes how you edit the editable user fields. I already mentioned the larger icons, and of course, we have a better advanced search, which we'll look at. So quickly, your modules have moved from these buttons on the left side into this new drop-down menu at the top. You're still going to land on applications by default. And then profiles is now people, and workflow is now requests. Moving along, those My Profile actions, like changing your password, are now up in the top right in this handy little user menu. So your users no longer have to go to Profiles and then My Profile to do any of that. All of the tabs along the top, for example, this is the People module or the Profiles module in the current version. So all those tabs that were along the top are now represented over on the left side when you're inside that module. The action buttons along the top to interact with the user have moved down to the bottom. They all work kind of the same way. You'll still check off your user and then click the button that corresponds to what you need to do. But they're just down there at the bottom now, a little bit bigger, nice icons, so you can kind of see what they are. Now, the advanced search has been redesigned. It honestly, in my opinion, looks a little scary at first glance, but we'll take a look at this in the live demo, and it really does work very much the same way. The advantage is if you are good at LDAP queries, you can also just kind of build your own query without using the interface, which might be nice for some of you. And then finally, the people details and edit functionality. So this works a little bit differently than it did before. So when you have a list of users pull up, in the current interface, to view their profile details, you would click that little pin over on the right, that sort of right panel. In the new interface, you just click the details button down at the end. Once you've done that, if you want to edit the user, right now you would click the Edit button next to the user's line in the list. In the new UI, you'll click Edit Profile over on the right side. And once you click Edit Profile, it just unlocks that pane where you can modify those few fields that you're able to modify. I'm going to flip over to our NCEdCloud test site, and this is the updated version. The first thing I want to point out is that the forgot username and forgot password buttons have kind of moved a little bit. So there used to be two buttons right below Claim My Account for forgot username and forgot password. Those links are now contextual, so they just show up right below the username field, and we'll see it on the password field on the next screen as well. So if you were to have forgotten your username, you can still just click there, pop in your email address, and it will email you your username. But I'm going to go ahead and log in as a teacher, and we'll kind of look at it from that point of view, and then we'll see a few things from the LEA administrator point of view as well. So we'll throw in our username. If we forgot our password, we could hit the forgot password link there. It would take us through the same process you're used to with answering challenge questions. So once we're logged in, just like in the current version, we land by default on the applications page, displaying all applications. Bookmarks work very much the same way. So bookmarks are these little red ribbons at the bottom left of every application pane tile, whatever you want to call them. So if I wanted to bookmark Amplify reports, I could just click it. If I wanted to unbookmark Amplify assessments, I could just click it to remove it. And then you can filter your bookmarks over here on the left side. So now you're only seeing the applications that have been bookmarked. So as far as some of the teacher actions, one of the things my teachers did all the time was reset student passwords. So for a teacher to do that, they'll expand the little module drop down at the top and go over to People. And so where the My Students tab and the QR codes tab used to be along the top, they're now here on the left side. Once you click into there, it really works very much the same way. It lists out all of the teacher's students. If, say, Steve has forgotten his password, you can check him off here and hit Change Password. It's going to pop up to confirm that you're changing this student's password. Yes, we sure are. You then get the Change Password screen, which includes a description of the full password policy. Just like today, you can type in a password, or you can just check to set the password to the default value, and you can decide whether the user must change their password at the next login. I will point out, if you type in a password, it will kind of start, no, maybe it doesn't in this interface. But if you do type in a password that doesn't meet these requirements, it will warn you and kind of stop you from doing that. So I'm going to reset Steve's password here to his default value and require that he change it on his next login. And it then tells us that our operation was successful, and it shows us his password just in case we need it. And just like today, you can see the default password in the list. We have also requested that ID Auto add the grade level column to this list for teachers, for those high school teachers that might be teaching multiple grade levels. So another thing I want to show you real quick from, a teacher view or maybe just a regular employee view is how to submit a request now that those have moved. So if this teacher maybe just got a promotion, they're going to be the new LEA administrator, and they need to go request that role. So again, they'll expand their modules drop down at the top, and they'll go to requests. So the My Entitlements section is going to come up by default first. That is going to show any roles that were previously or are currently held by this user account. If we want to request an additional role, you'll go to Catalog over on the left, and that's going to list all of the entitlements that I'm able to request. So in this case, I want to request LEA Administrator, so I'll just check that off and hit Request down at the bottom. Just like in our current version, you have to put in your LEA or charter code, and you can optionally add any comments here. And then you'll just hit Request, and that request will go up to the current LEA administrator or up here to DPI if there is no LEA administrator. So that's kind of the teacher view and how to request an additional role out of the catalog, and also how to view your currently assigned roles in My Entitlements. And sort of the last thing I want to show you from a teacher view is the new user menu. So if I needed to change my password, update my challenge responses, or I'm just ready to log out, up here at the top right, I've got this little user icon. If the window's big enough, it'll also say the user's first name. You can click there to change your password, update your challenge responses. If you need to set your default email address, you can do that in profile settings. Or if you're just done, you can log out. So I'm going to go ahead and log out, and we will kind of shift gears just a little bit and take a look at the LEA admin view. So over here, I'm logged in as an LEA admin. And of course, it looks very much the same, but you may notice this little red notification icon at the top right. So this is telling me that I have a pending new task that I need to deal with. So this little icon is your tasks pane. And right from here, you can see that we have the LEA administrator request from that teacher. We can approve or deny it right from here. We could also choose to view more details or ignore it. If it's preferable, you can also still you can go to the requests module. And for an LEA administrator, you'll have tasks as well. And so you'll see those pending approvals in the tasks approvals area. So we can check that off, and we can decide if we want to approve it or deny it. So in this case, in the interest of being able to do this demo a second time next week, I'm going to actually deny this request. And if I want to put a comment in about that denial, I can, or I can just deny it. And that is now taken care of. I'll also point out here at the top left, you also have this activity tab that lets you kind of see the most recent activities for your user account. And you also have an alerts tab. So that might tell you that, hey, the password for my account got reset by someone. So that John Mairs guy must have reset my password recently. So there's one more piece that we definitely need to cover here, and that is the new advanced search functionality. So this does look very different, but I promise it works very much the same. So I'm going to go into the people module, and I'm going to pop into manage employees. So my little contrived scenario is that maybe HR just called me as the LEA administrator and we need to disable somebody. So I'm going to use advanced search to find them. Just like in the current UI, you would check advanced search. And now here's where it gets a little different. If you are good with LDAP filters, you could in fact just type one in right here. If you're like me and you're really not good at writing your own LDAP filters, you can use the LDAP builder. So we'll click to open the LDAP builder. That'll open this little pane over here on the right side. And now we can start to build our query. So the first thing I want to search on is I want to find employees within my LEA. So I'm going to filter on LEA codes that equal AA wildcard. So any LEA code that starts with AA. And we'll click out of that type field to sort of save that first part. And now if I wanted to add a second part to this, I'll hit this little sort of over arrow thing. So I can choose if this is an and or an or. and then I can add an additional filter. So the other filter I want to search on is last name, and I want all of the last names that start with M. So last name equals M star. So hopefully you can kind of see this is very much like the current interface. It's just a little different, this advanced search LDAP builder. Once we're happy with that, we'll hit update. It'll fill in our LDAP query for us, and then we can hit search. And this should bring back one user Butch maintenance. So to complete, the last sort of thing that I want to point out is the differences to the details pane in editing those user fields. So for example, if Butch suddenly resigned and we need to disable him right now, just like today, we'll check him off, we'll disable his account, it'll confirm that we're disabling this account. Yes, it's now disabled. But we also want to disable his updates from source data because we're not sure how soon it'll be before he's disabled. So in the new UI, we'll hit details. That's going to open the pane over to the right that shows all of the profile details. To edit these, we'll hit edit profile. And then you could re-enable his ability to claim his account, or in this case, we're disabling his updates from source data. You could also mess with his email address if you needed to, set the primary, that kind of thing. So I'll go ahead and save that. And so now Butch is disabled, and we don't have to worry about him being accidentally enabled again overnight. So I'll pause again at this point. This is kind of all of the live demo we had planned today. But is there anything we didn't cover that maybe has come in through the Q&A area, or anything any of our panelists think that we missed and should cover?
There has been some questions, but they're being answered mostly by ID Auto. Here's a question about search.
Sure.
In the Q&A there, it's a rather long question if you want to take a peek at it.
Okay.
Last one there.
I'll save that for the end just because I can't see the Q&A while I'm sharing my screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I can
Sure, Sheila, go ahead.
answer those. So at this time, it's the partial name searches. I didn't know for sure off the top of my head, so I tested it myself, and it does not look like partial name searches work. So John, if you go to just the regular non-LDAP search and like just search for maint, M-A-I-N-T, it's not going to bring up Butch. Oh, well, okay, yeah. If you put the star there, it will.
Oh, gotcha. But without the wild card, it won't do a partial.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Good catch.
And so there's that, and then so that would need to be, if we want that as a feature, it would need to be entered as a feature request. Same with the question following that regarding showing the passwords in a different font. That would also need to be put in as a request. And I think that would fall under kind of an accessibility type request.
Okay. Perfect.
And so and when it comes to feature requests, I think it might be a good idea for us to compile a list and basically go over it with you guys, see, what can be consolidated, what can be entered in, or what, is agreed upon as something that can be entered or should be entered as a feature request. Does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll mention for all the attendees in the audience, we will absolutely be saving the Q&A from today. And so anything that you're putting in there as a suggestion or something that we need to look more closely at, please know that will be saved and we will refer to it and make sure that we get that addressed.
I have a question about when exactly this summer the update will take place.
Not to worry, we'll be there very soon. But I'll go ahead and say mid-July, with details to come in the next 10 minutes. So anything else on new UI we want to look at now before I let you peek at the training site?
Two questions about the 1,000 account query limit. Is that still in place?
I believe it is. Is that correct, Shiza?
I believe so. That might be something that I need to confirm 100% on, but I think it is, yes.
Okay. Perfect. And we'll certainly confirm that and let you know, whoever asked that. So I'm going to go ahead and shift over to our new training site as well. So I want to mention this is not quite 100% ready, but it's, I would say, 99% ready. We here at DPI are still reviewing and making sure there's nothing else that needs to be tweaked, but I wanted you to at least be able to see it. So this new site will launch. I'm hoping to get the link out to you guys by June 17th so that you can kind of preview this training site before the upgrade happens. But kind of the way it's laid out, we have the end user training areas. So end users use cases is sort of general use cases for everybody, anyone who would log into NCEdCloud. We also have specific videos for students and specific videos for staff. These two exception role options. So exception roles are what we're calling the privileged roles now, your LEA administrators, data auditors, help desk, student help desk, all of those. So we have specific use cases for those users as well as general role training for those users. And so once you click on one of these sort of categories, it'll take you into the first video. Over on the left, you can navigate through to additional videos. You can expand other areas and see what the other videos are available. Each of these pages will have a video at the top. It'll have sort of a description. It'll tell you what users it's applicable to. And then down at the bottom, and huge props to Shiza for this. I really like this personally. We have an old UI to new UI crosswalk. So on the left side, it's going to show you what it used to look like. And on the right side, you'll see what it now looks like. So the applications module, workflow becoming requests, etc. So we're still working on the final details here, but I wanted you to at least see that this new refresh training site will be available with new training content for the new user interface. And now I'm going to jump back to my slide deck because I know we got this question. So as far as our timeline, right now we anticipate to have the training site complete by June 17th. And we will send that link out to all of you on or around that date. However you got the email for the webinar today, you will get the link to the training site the same way. As far as the actual update to NCEdCloud, we are targeting the July home base maintenance window. So as always, that window technically is from 5 p.m. on Friday, July 15th through the early morning hours of Friday, July 15th through the early morning hours of Monday, July 18th. Naturally, as usual, we don't anticipate taking that whole window, but we want to communicate the whole window just in case. And we will certainly communicate to you the specific start time for the NCEdCloud update and the anticipated completion time. And of course, we'll let you know when it's for sure back in service.